Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I have a bunch of news to share about the 2024 election, how the polls are looking post Democratic convention. Before we dive into that good news, though, let's talk about some other good news. The seeming implosion of Donald Trump's stock, DJT stock. You may have seen my YouTube short yesterday. It showed that the stock hit a new low of $19.38. So the stock is still bouncing around in that range. It's in the upper $19 to low $20 range. So it is now worth a fraction of what it was when the stock first went public this year. So remember, the 1-year high was over $79 a share. So a lot of people purchased that stock at that price or close to it. They have now lost 3/4 of their money. I still doubt, that MAGA diehards are going to let it go. They're going to continue to prop up this worthless stock in the company. So I don't think it's going to flatline anytime soon. Eventually, though, the house of cards are going to crumble one way or the other. And Business Insider, I thought, put it perfectly. They had an article about this yesterday, and they wrote, quote, DJT stock is a meme stock. Investors aren't valuing it based on the company's financials, which are very meager at best. They think it's worth something because other people think it's worth something. And that collective fantasy will work right up until it doesn't. So I will continue to keep an eye on that. In other news, you may have heard that Special Counsel Jack Smith pared back his Trump indictment. This is for the attempted coup. He seated a new grand jury. They issued a superseding indictment. So Trump is still charged with the same 4 crimes, but Smith removed any evidence that might fall under the heading of presidential duties because of that ridiculous Supreme Court ruling. So this doesn't change much. Judge Chutkan is still going to need to hold hearings to try to air out some of Trump's ridiculous arguments. He, of course, is still making the case that he should be completely immune from prosecution. So the matter is undoubtedly going to go back to the Supreme Court because Trump is going to appeal whatever Judge Chutkan says. So the long and short of it is this isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen before the election. But anyway, back to the good news. There's a new poll that was conducted by a company called Big Village. It shows Kamala Harris with a 7-point national lead over Trump. And this is in regard to registered voters. Then among likely voters, she is leading still by 6. So that polling took place between August 23rd and the 28th, so after the convention. And that is the second national poll that shows Harris winning by 7 points. A USA Today Suffolk poll also shows a similar lead in their poll, also conducted after the Democratic convention. Harris is leading by 5. Their previous polling had Trump leading Biden by 3%. So that is a huge swing. Harris is also ahead by 4% in a national poll that Ipsos Reuters conducted. That was just released today. The last Ipsos Reuters survey had Harris in the lead, but only by 1 point. So again, she's gaining ground. Florida Atlantic University also released the results of a national poll they conducted between August 23rd and the 25th. Among likely voters, Harris leads Trump 49-46. Their survey, which is consistent with others' findings, shows that Harris has a big advantage with women, Black and Hispanic Americans, and white college-educated voters. FAU also said that Trump is losing favor with independents. So back in July, in their estimation or with their polling, independents were roughly split between Trump and Harris. It was 45 for Harris and 43% for Trump. But their latest poll shows Trump dropping to 35% with independents, and Harris moved up. She's up to 48%. Now, the polling is pretty inconsistent in regard to independents because YouGov just released their own independent voter survey yesterday. They showed very different results. they showed Trump leading Harris by 5 points among that voting bloc. So we're going to have to see what the future polling shows. Again, I think that Harris's support is being undercounted right now, and I'll get to more of that in a minute. But Democrats definitely have momentum on their side right now. Cook Political Report changed their rating for the state of North Carolina. They previously had it as lean Republican. They now have it as a toss-up. They said that Harris isn't winning over Trump supporters, but she's definitely energizing Democrats and independents. And she picked up 13% more support with those two groups since Joe Biden stepped aside. Also, Sabato's Crystal Ball, they recently changed their North Carolina prediction. They changed it from a toss-up to lean Democratic. And as I've suspected, and as I just mentioned, Harris is bringing out new voters. These are people who are most likely not even being factored into these polls. A data analytics firm called TargetSmart just put out their findings. They say that voter registration has surged since Harris became the presumptive nominee. So TargetSmart pulled data for 13 different states. This is both blue and red states. They also included a couple of very key swing states like Michigan and North Carolina. And what they found is that compared to July of 2020, so the last presidential election, this same period of time, Democratic voter registration has increased 175% for Black women between the ages of 18 and 29. It increased 150% for Hispanic women in that same age group. Among Black people in general, so men and women, Democratic voter registration surged 85% when compared to 2020. And in regard to the Hispanic population, both men and women across the board, they found a 63% increase in Democratic voter registration. There's also been a 75% increase in Democratic registration among voters under 30 in general. So white, Black, Latino, every nationality. A representative of TargetSmart was just recently interviewed by the New Republic podcast, and he was saying that there's an overwhelming shift toward the Democratic Party. And based on his data or their data, Democrats have a 20-point advantage regarding registration compared to Republicans. So 20% more Democratic registrations compared to Republicans, compared to this time, of the year in 2020. And he said that during this period of time in 2020, Democrats had only about a 5 to 6% advantage, and they still won. He said it is difficult to convey how massive this is. This guy said that even a 3-point swing is considered to be a huge deal. And Harris is also closing the gap with Trump in regard to some of his top issues, like some major political issues with MAGA. So in that Reuters Ipsos poll that I mentioned, Harris is now trailing Trump by 3% in regard to the economy. That's a big shift. She may still be behind, but in late July, she was down by 11. She was down by 11 points on economic matters. So she's now brought that to 3%, and that is within the margin of error. She's also now tied with Trump on the issue of crime and corruption. So that is a major shift. I mean, compared to where Biden was on that issue with Trump, huge, absolutely huge. So anyway, I will keep an eye on all of this. I will let you know how things shake out, what happens next, all the polls, and definitely keep an eye on that DJT stock for you. So hopefully more good news to come. Hopefully it's down, into the, let's say, $10 range in the next month after the debate. Here's hoping. All right. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have not. Please donate if you possibly can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.